Hello guys, there are two kinds of transistors, NPN transistor and a PNP transistors. So the NPN transistors are most commonly used transistors. Also we will use PNP transistors. Let's see how each works. Let's talk about NPN transistors first. You can see it has 3 pins. We will explain what are those. So this is how an NPN transistor look like. It has an N-type semiconductor, a P-type semiconductor, and an N-type semiconductors. And one acts as an emitter. An emitter emits electron. The P-type acts as a base, and C is a collector. Collector collects electrons, and B is a base. Base control the flow of electron from emitter to collector. So this transistor, if you look at it, it has 3 pins. For this particular type of transistor, the emitter is this one, collector is the middle one, and base is the first pin. It's just for this transistor. For every kind of transistor, they have their own order of emitter, base, and collector. There is no standard way of telling emitter, base, and collectors on a transistor. You have to check the data sheet. If you look at this transistor, it says D2012. So if you search for the data sheet on Google, you can probably get the data sheet and you can find out, identify which pins are emitter, base, and collector. For this one, for this transistor, this is emitter, and the middle one is collector, and the first one is base. Okay, let's see how it works. So a transistor has 3 sections, emitter, base, and collector. For an NPN transistor, P is in the middle and N at the both sides. Its working is quite simple. We are applying a voltage across this crystal transistor. We have to remember, emitter, always we connect emitter to the ground for an NPN transistor. Then the collector is connected to the positive. Then now there is no current flow. There is no current flow in the transistor. But we can make this transistor conductive by applying a small current on the base. To do that, we apply a small voltage, a positive voltage, between emitter and the base, like that. Now there will be a very small current flow here, which will trigger a high current flow from emitter to collector. Here I talk about current because like I show the arrow this way because that shows the flow of electron, but you can think of always in the opposite direction because current flows from positive terminal to the negative terminal. So that is it. When we apply a small voltage between emitter and base, there will be a very small current flow which trigger a very high current flow from emitter to collector. So that's how an NPN transistor works. Now let's go ahead and see how a transistor works in a circuit. This is an NPN transistor. Let's make a circuit. So let's draw a transistor. This is how we draw a transistor. Circle. So this is an NPN transistor. You draw an arrow like that. That's our emitter. We know emitter we always connect to the ground in an NPN transistor, and this is emitter, this is base, and this is collector. We are connecting a load in our collector. Let's connect an LED, a resistor and an LED. Okay, let's connect a resistor. Then I'm connecting an LED just like that. And let's say we are connecting it to 9-volt battery plus 9 volt. Now there is no current flow through the transistor from the positive terminal to the negative terminal or the ground. So the LED won't turn on. It won't turn on. It will be off. But we can make it turn on by applying a very small current at the base. In order to do that, I'm using a very high resistance. Let's say I'm using a 4.7 kilo ohm, which is quite high. And this resistance is the current limiting resistor of the LED. Let's make it to 20 ohm. Let's see how it works. I want to apply a very small current on the base by connecting this end of the resistor to the battery's positive terminal. Now we applied a small current. The transistor will conduct and it will turn on the LED. So that's the idea. If we remove this, disconnect this wire from the positive terminal of the battery, this transistor will turn off. Let's go ahead and build this circuit in a breadboard. Okay, I have this breadboard here. You can see this is the positive rail. I connect a resistor to the LED, to the positive pin of the LED. From positive pin, this is the negative pin, and I have a wire. And let's connect and test this LED. I'm connecting the battery. Like that. And if I connect the other end of the LED to the ground, LED is glowing. So let's use the transistor to switch on this LED instead of using this wire like that. I have this transistor. This is an NPN transistor. So in the circuit, we had to connect the LED to the collector. So the middle pin is the collector. So I'm connecting the middle pin to the LED like that. You can see. Then the emitter to the ground. For this particular transistor, the emitter is the right pin, the pin on the right side that goes to the ground. So I'm connecting that to the ground. For the negative pin, so I connected the emitter to the ground. Connection, the circuit is complete, but the LED is not turned on. So in order to turn on the LED, we had to apply a very small current at the base. So that is the base. I'm using a wire, small positive current. So I'm using this wire, and if I connect this one to the positive rail, this LED will turn on, but I don't want to connect it directly. Then it won't be a small current, it will be a high current, and that will damage the transistor. What I want to do, I want to connect it using a high resistance. So I'm using this 4.7K resistor to connect that to the base. So what I did, I connected this 4.7K to the positive side of the battery. So this resistor helped me to send a very small current to the base. Let's see and connect, see what happens. Now our transistor switched on and our LED turned on. If I remove that, the transistor will turn off. I can turn it on like that and turn it off like that. And a very small current is good enough to turn on this LED. You can see, like, I'm just touching the one end of the I'm just touching the base, and if I touch the positive just by my hand, you can see the LED is turned on. A small current that is flowing through my body is enough to turn on the LED. So these transistors are very sensitive. Well, some are. Okay, that's how an NPN transistor works. Let's go. Oops. Very easy. Hope you learned something from this experiment. In the next video, we will use the PNP transistor and see how it works. If you learned something, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.